Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending tonight's webinar, VPK Einsteins, Learn About the Scientific Inquiry. We will begin shortly in a couple of minutes just to give a few more people the time to come in. Thank you for attending today. Okay, we will begin. Again, good evening to everyone that is able to attend today's webinar, VPK Einsteins, Learn About the Scientific Inquiry. We want to go ahead and start by introducing ourselves. My name is Gretel Arroyo, and I am a quality and education coaching specialist for the Early Learning Coalition of Broward County. I have worked in the early childhood field for over 10 years, and I have worn many different hats throughout my career. Currently, I have the pleasure of working with various providers throughout Broward County, supporting directors and teachers in their VPK program. So now I would like to present to you my colleague and friend, Ana Avalos Atkinson. Give us one moment because Anna, I think you have to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Gretel. Hi, everyone, and welcome to our webinar session. My name is Ana Avalos Atkinson, and as my colleague Gretel, I am also a coach directly working with providers in the community, supporting their experiences and interactions with children. I have had the pleasure in my 30-plus year career in the field to support teachers and directors throughout Miami-Dade and Broward counties. I am constantly encouraging providers to continue their professional development, since as educators, we know that we never stop learning. So I do commend all of you for giving of your time tonight, spending your Thursday evening with us. We thank you and we appreciate you. We're very happy that you've joined us tonight, and we hope that this will be an experience that will provoke both thinking and reflection. So welcome, everyone.
Yes. So we want to go ahead and start with a bit of webinar housekeeping. I'm sure some of you have been attending our webinars, so you're probably very comfortable with the panel. But if this is your first time, we want you to please take a look at your panel. It will probably be on the right side or left side of your screen. If you are on a cell phone, you'll have some of these instructions on the bottom of your screen. If you click on the orange arrow here, it's going to have a rectangle with a white arrow in it, and that's going to allow you to expand or narrow out your panel. You want to go ahead and open it now so you can see the next arrow, which says questions. This is where you can open it and type in any questions. We want this night to be very interactive. We want to get to know you. We have a few questions that we're going to ask you tonight. So please take a moment and look at that so you can get comfortable with the questions box. And lastly, we do have 5 handouts that we feel will be very beneficial for you in your classroom. for science. We go ahead and take a moment now to download those. They will be downloaded in a PDF format. And if you have any questions about any of this, please go ahead and add it in the questions box. Also, all ELC trainings going forward are for in-service hours. Your training certificate will be emailed to you to the email address that you registered with. So be on the lookout for that email most probably by tomorrow. In order to be attended, you must log into the computer or be on the app. So a rule of thumb is if you cannot see our presentation, then we cannot see you on the registration, on the attendee list. All trainings will have a pre-test of 3 questions to answer when you register. And those same three questions will be at the end when the webinar is over. They will appear on your screen along with a training evaluation with 5 questions. Please take a moment to answer that. We do review them and they do help us to grow. So again, thank you. So tonight we have our friend here, the scientist, Mr. Albert Einstein, and he has a couple questions for us to kind of get us in that science mode. So the first question is, let me see, I'm waiting for it to come in. Here it is. What is a tornado's favorite game to play? So go ahead and add your answers to the questions box. What do you think is a tornado's favorite game to play? Let's see. Well, I can't ask you, Anita, because you know.
I know already. Oh, we're getting some answers. Ring around the rosy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
That is a good one. I hadn't thought about that. I do see the answer there.
Yeah.
I do.
Oh.
Answer. Oh,
Yep.
yes. Okay. Very good, guys. You did
Awesome.
get it.
Yeah.
So, yep. Their favorite game to play is Twister.
Awesome.
Hide and seek. That would have been a good one too.
Yeah, and clean sweep. Oh, fun. I love it.
Okay, here's the second question. How do trees get on the internet?
Mm.
I would like to see
This is
that. How
tough
do
for
they get
me.
on the internet? What do you guys think?
Let's think.
The answers are coming in.
Oh my
We have the
goodness.
right answer already,
Mhm.
but we know that this person knows the right answers.
Picture box.
There's
Okay.
box.
Pictures. Okay.
Okay.
This was
Okay.
hard for me when I first read it. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I had to really think.
That's hard too. And then when I see the answer, I was like, oh, okay, I get it.
Oh, yeah, I should have gotten that one.
Here's the answer. They log in.
Yeah. Ba-dum-bum.
But that's cute. Okay,
Oh,
last question from the scientist. The question says, what do you call a pig who knows karate? What do we call a pig that knows karate? And that was funny.
Piglet. Oh,
Yep,
that's
a couple of
cute.
you got it. It's
Yeah.
exactly that. It is a pork chop.
Yep. Chop chop.
Show
Pork
you our
chop.
pork chop.
Oh my goodness. Those are such fun. I love those.
He's a cutie. So Mr. Pork Chop. All right. Thank you guys for participating in that. That was a lot of fun.
That
Let's
was.
move on. Today's training objectives, we would like to first be, we want you to feel very comfortable with the standards. When the webinar is completed, we want you to be able to understand and possibly describe the scientific inquiry domain and its components. We want you to be able to identify the connections between the scientific inquiry domain and the other learning domains. And lastly, be able to identify best practices and in turn be able to apply them in the classroom. So that is our goal for this night. So now we're going to move on. What is scientific inquiry? So scientific inquiry is one of the 8 domains from the Florida Early Learning Developmental Standards. It addresses the children's curiosity in exploring the world around them. Children are natural investigators, and their levels of understanding deepen over time with varied experiences. So as an early childhood educator, you have probably already observed young children playing, exploring, and beginning to learn about and understand their environment. So by providing children with opportunities to explore and wonder, you can help to foster the development in this domain. The experiences you provide in your classroom can broaden and challenge a child's understanding of the concepts of science. So that is science inquiry. So these are the 8 domains for the early learning learning and developmental standards. When you visit this website, this link that's here on the screen, you will be able to find information on each domain from birth to kindergarten. A lot of times we think that these are specifically just for VPK, but they're not. They're meant from infant teachers to VPK teachers. This website is user-friendly and is meant to be used by educators, caregivers, and families. Later on in the webinar, we're going to take a deeper look into the individual components, standards, and benchmarks for the scientific inquiry domain. Please take a picture or make a note on the website on the screen so you can have direct access to the standards website on your device. So now we're going to watch a video that's going to give us a brief overview of what science is for preschoolers. Please note in the video what the speaker is speaking in terms of what should science be in the preschool, and also what science in the preschool should not be. So let me go ahead and share that with you all. All right. So what is your feedback about that video? What can you tell me science is about and what science is not about? Let's see. So while you're writing in the questions box, Anna, what do you think about the video?
Well, I thought that video gave a really good explanation on, first of all, science is not children sitting there listening to us, right? Lecturing them. Science is really hands-on. That was the first thing that kind of, stuck out. And then the other thing is, how we as teachers can be creative in providing those opportunities for them to explore and to discover and, just experience the world in a different way, and just letting them do it, asking questions, provoking questions, that having those discussions and kind of, scaffolding their learning. I thought it gave, really cool examples. Like I love the animal habitat, using those boxes and the nests and stuff all over the place. And of course, the
Yeah.
children can be super creative. So yeah, just giving them the opportunity to
Yeah.
um, to be
To
creative
explore.
in that way. Hmm.
We have a couple comments. They said science is about giving children opportunities to use their senses. Thank
Excellent.
you. Excellent takeaway. Science is hands-on and exploring new things.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes,
And
it is.
exploring an area that brings about creativity. Excellent feedback. Thank you so much.
Good. Mhm.
So based on the video we just saw, let's review a little bit exactly what you were saying. And this video gave us great information about what the science inquiry looked like in the classroom. So first, we want to encourage children to play, wonder, and explore their environment. So that goes back to the comment about being hands-on. Yes, we want them to try things on their own. Hands-on exploration gives them the best feedback, immediate information to what they're doing in the moment, right? And so as children explore on their own pace, their imagination and curiosity can lead them to new discoveries and learning. And prompting, so this is where the teacher now comes in, prompting their critical thinking skills with those open-ended questions that begin with why and how will deepen their knowledge for further discovery and for further learning. So thank you all for that feedback. So the scientific inquiry domain is composed of 6 components, including scientific inquiry through the exploration and discovery, life science, physical science, earth and space science, environment, and engineering and technology. We will take a tour of the standards in the incoming slides, and Anna's going to start us off with the first 3 components. Take it away, Anna.
Thanks, Gretel. Alrighty, so the scientific inquiry through exploration and discovery component can be observed when children use their senses to observe and collect information from the world around them. As children develop, they learn to use observational tools to extend their senses and observe the natural world, as we already mentioned, right? Educators can foster the development of a child's inquisitiveness and scientific thinking by talking to children about their experience and responding to their questions. As they grow older, children develop the ability to interpret cause and effect and can use that skill to make predictions and solve problems, as we will look in the next few slides. So as we begin to discuss each of the standards, I want to remind you of how the domains are set up. So they have 8 domains. Here in the scientific inquiry, the domain has several components. The components has 1 or more standards, and then the standard has benchmarks. So we're going to go through each one together with you tonight. So the first standard for scientific inquiry is exploration and discovery. And this one reads, uses senses to explore and understand their social and physical environment. So you will note there's a couple of, how you'll notice that some of these standards, and benchmarks are connected, okay? So just keep a lookout for those keywords. So we know here how much children learn from and enjoy doing hands-on and learning activities, as we just saw in the video, especially those that involve their senses. So as teachers provide fun and interesting opportunities for young children to learn about and identify their senses, they will be able to use these for a variety of different tasks. So we can introduce elements outside of our classroom as well as inside and encourage discussions and discovery with the use of fun materials, which they can then use their senses with. So they can smell, for example, different items like herbs or flowers from a garden that the children help to plant outside. They can discuss different textures through touch and identify the source. Able to share with you also their favorite colors and foods, okay, based on their likes and dislikes and senses. Okay, so standard number 2 reads, uses tools in scientific inquiry. So this standard highlights young children's use of simple tools and equipment to make observations as they investigate the environment. They can use such items in their explorations to help them investigate more closely. So we should provide these in several areas of the classroom, which will help them incorporate discovery naturally into their play. And of course, they give a whole new meaning to the outdoor play, right? When they can investigate using these tools. So for example, a child will seek out a pair of binoculars to look at a bird out on the playground, or a magnifying glass to look at different rocks or leaves, or a camera to observe and photograph details in small shells and twigs. Also, we can provide balance scales to compare weights of various objects. Those are always fun. And we can give them funnels that they can use in the water table to kind of transfer, water from a cup into a bottle. So that's always fun. That is standard number 2. So for standard 3, it reads, uses understanding of casual relationships to act out on social and physical environments. This standard has 4 benchmarks. And here, young children love to make predictions. So we can provide opportunities for them to predict outcomes of simple experiments based on their past experiences and previous knowledge. And then, of course, we support them in testing their theories by actually performing those simple experiments. So they're learning to predict, describe what they observe, and conclude the outcome. So, for example, recording observations through dictation to an adult and drawing pictures to document, like a chart using Cheerios to predict the number of colors. We can collaborate with them in collecting and creating data, such as making a tally graph of their favorite cereal. Who likes Cheerios? Who likes cornflakes? And so they can take part in that as well. And then the last picture, we see a little boy using toy cars and trains to document a graph of colors, as the teacher most likely helped him collect data through dictation. So that's always fun. Remember, hands-on, we see them engaged. All right. So the life science component is related to children's ability and tendency to be curious about living things around them. And life science includes demonstrating knowledge about the way living things grow and change in their environments. They can naturally be curious, and they love to observe and interact with plants and animals. Okay, this component has 1 standard, and the standard has 5 benchmarks. So here, young children depend on us to provide experiences to help them make those connections to previous knowledge and the real world. So as they become more independent, their play becomes more intentional, and they begin to notice and point out different characteristics in living things. So for example, they make connections of real items and pictures or symbolic representations. For example, like having real plants in the classroom, of course, non-toxic, and outside on the playground that they can identify the characteristics of. Also, we help them investigate and compare the needs of living things, such as, when we make a chart of what is living and what is not living, right? So they can participate in that fun activity. And also, collecting and describing or recording information about living things through discussions and drawings, such as the little boy here. And he is making a representation of the cycle of turtles, and he's documenting with his drawings. And of course, when talking about animal habitats, we can discuss where animals live and how they survive. So for example, talk about birds and that they've seen probably on the playground, and where do they live and how do they, what do they eat? How do they survive? So by asking a lot of those open-ended questions, we're prompting that thought process and helping them think. Okay. And then the last component is related to physical science and the characteristics and movement of objects. So children enjoy playing with objects, we know that, manipulating them and learning from them. So from stacking blocks to completing puzzles to pushing toy cars, they often are found using objects and materials in their environment for fun and exploring and just to kind of understand how things work. So we need to provide them with activities and a variety of fun materials so that they can observe and use in different ways, kind of figure out how they work and figure out how they're connected to the world around them. So physical science has one standard with 5 benchmarks. And here children engage in science by exploring the world around them. As I said, they are naturally curious about things and trying to see how they work. So they observe, they experiment, and they start using simple tools to investigate movement and characteristics of objects. So for example, we can discuss and make predictions on what will happen to a kite, for example, before we attempt to fly it, right? What makes it move, right? Discuss what happens when mixing paint colors on ice when removed from the freezer to a bin outside the classroom. So we encourage them to comment on the changes of properties that they see, right? That's always fun. And lastly, they explore and describe the relationships of objects to light. And this is so cool. By a simple use of flashlights and wall images, we can have long conversations about what makes those images, what makes those shadows, right? And the differences in light on objects. So that is it. And now Gretel will continue on with the next set of components.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you. So the next 3, the 4th component is called Earth and Space Science, and it is focused on demonstrating knowledge about the changing properties of the Earth and the sky. Children often enjoy investigating and playing with natural materials such as rocks, soil, sand, and water. They show curiosity about watching events in the sky. For example, the day changing into night, the different types of weather. Although we do live in Florida, so our weathers are a little limited in comparison to the states up north, but they still notice the different changes that we go through. They can maybe point out different stars or the moon or the sun or any objects in the sky. So let's take a look at those, that standard and benchmark. So Earth and Space Science is composed of one standard with 5 benchmarks. And you're going to start to see some of the benchmarks are similar to some of the standards that Anna went through already. This one, for example, also addresses the states of water, liquid, solid, and gas. They want you to encourage the children to discover, explore, sort, compare, and contrast objects that are naturally found in the environment, such as rocks, soil, sand, mud, anything that is in your environment or anything that you can bring into the classroom to get the children to do those comparisons. And Earth and Space Science, and when I was a VPK teacher, was actually a topic that I was a bit intimidated by because I did not have as much knowledge off the top of my mind as to how to explain this to the children. So I found that this question here is an excellent way to introduce the topic and let the children lead you as to what they want to learn. And if you notice in the benchmarks, there's nothing here that talks about the entire solar system. And a lot of teachers like to teach the entire solar system, and that's great, but you want the children to be able to have that interest in it. And a great way to do that is to expose them to the books, expose them to some globes, planets, and ask them, what do you see? What do you think? What do you wonder? And based on the children's feedback, they'll actually direct you into what they want to learn regarding Earth and space science. So I hope that that helps in that area. The next one is called environment, the next component, and this involves a child's awareness of their surroundings. It focuses on the ability of a child to demonstrate awareness about the relationships with people, objects, both living and non-living things in their environment. While younger children begin to recognize, identify, and describe familiar people and objects in their environment, preschoolers begin to participate in these activities by protecting the environment, such as conserving water while washing their hands or brushing their teeth. So, environment is composed of one standard with 3 benchmarks. And the benchmarks are just, the standard just explained a little bit more in detail. So the first one says the child is able to demonstrate how people use objects and natural resources in the environment. And the best way to introduce that is to expose them and give them the vocabulary as to what they're looking at. So if you see here in this image, you want to make sure that they understand if they go into a different environment or in the playground, give them that vocabulary, help them to start getting comfortable to explore what is living and non-living things, those comparison charts. Also, the daily routine involves the environment. As you can see here, this teacher is taking the time to explain to the children conservation of water. And that's something that we probably already do with the children every day. And lastly, I thought this question here was very, it was a great way to also introduce the topic of taking care of the environment. And the question is, how do we help to heal the earth? And just allow the children the freedom to think about, maybe compare themselves as a living person to the earth. If you're hurting, what do you need? Now the earth might be hurting. What do you think the earth may need? And just give them the freedom to give you their responses, document their responses through drawings, or you dictating, writing their responses on a dry erase board. The last component is called engineering and technology, and this involves children's learning to think, explore, and problem solve and create. Engineering takes form through play and material exploration while designing, problem solving, and building. So your children are already doing engineering and technology in classrooms every day. Preschool children develop concepts in engineering as they design, build, and test solutions through their play, constructing sandcastles, for example, or building cities out of blocks. Children also begin understanding that tools help people to do things better or more efficient, or complete tasks that could otherwise not be accomplished at all. Technologies developed through engineering include systems that provide our houses with water and heat, create roads, bridges, tunnels, and cars, design airplanes and spacecraft, and create many other types of technologies. So let's look at that standard and benchmark. So the engineering technology component is composed of one standard with 4 benchmarks. And you want the children to be able to do this throughout the school year. You want them to be able to show interest in understanding how simple tools and machines assist with solving problems or creating objects and structure. So for example, you see this image here of the little girl using a saw, and she's using it in context, in the correct context, and you want them to be able to test that theory out. Maybe take it out of context and ask her, is this the right place to use it or not? And if she says, no, it's not the right place to use it, if you take it out of the block area, for example, say, why not? How come we cannot use this in the kitchen? And you start to compare and contrast the different tools regarding the different environments. You want them to also, let me show you the next picture. You want them to also be able to try different ways to solve their own problems. These are the great learning moments where if they have a problem, don't immediately give them the solution. Let them think, what can we do to solve the problem that you would like? In this example, this little boy wants to keep the marbles up, but they probably kept falling. So then, as an example, you can maybe take them around the classroom and ask them, let's look at other things that are holding up heavier things. What do they have? What foundations are they under to keep, for example, the computer on top of the desk? And just have them compare and contrast with other things around the classroom. Let them be inventive with their creativity. Ramps is also another great way to introduce engineering and technology. In this classroom here, they're using PVC pipes, which it could be a great parent activity to have your parents bring you some PVC types that are already cut, or you can even create it out of cardboard, can they tubes? Thank you. You can bring other types of objects. Ask the children, what can we use to create ramps? And you want to expose this to them. Books are a great way to introduce a lot of these topics because children may not have seen this in their everyday life. So again, we wanted to share with you the website of where you can find this. You don't have to memorize any of this. It's a lot of information, but this is readily available to you on this website. It is the Florida Early Learning and Developmental Standards website. You will find on there many resources to help you plan fun learning experiences for your classroom. And again, we want you to document the website so that you can have it readily available on your device. In the next slide, Anna will have a question for all of us.
Thank you, Gretel.
You're
All
welcome.
righty, everyone. So now we want your participation in the chat again. No, not in the chat. We want you to answer the poll question, okay? So the question is, how comfortable are you in promoting science inquiry in your classroom? Okay, so launching the poll, and you have 3 choices. Are you very comfortable? Are you somewhat comfortable? Or are you not very comfortable? Please be honest and share. Okay, please
Ooh,
choose.
the
Select.
voting is coming in hot. There's a
Let's,
lot of voting happening right now.
all right. Please share.
How
Please
about
share.
how about in your classroom, Anna? How comfortable were you?
I
Would
was
love.
not very comfortable. I'm more, of the artsy type. I honestly, math and
Yeah.
science were not my strong, points there with the children. So, I mean, I provided activities for them, but as far as feeling really comfortable, no, I can't say that I did. I always tried using resources and trying to get, ideas from colleagues and stuff, but still, I never really felt that comfortable. So I'm with a lot of our participants that are responding now. Let's see, what's the voting? 59% voted. Okay, everyone, keep them coming. What about you? Oh, you said already that you weren't that comfortable, right?
I was not that comfortable. I actually was the literacy teacher. Everything was about the books. That was my world. Books, 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 and extending and but yeah, I was intimidated by this topic for sure.
Yeah, same here.
We're gonna go ahead and close this poll
Ready?
and share with you the results. Let's see.
Wow, look at that. We have a lot of science experts amongst us tonight, Gretel.
Yes, that's awesome.
4%, very comfortable. That is really great to hear. That is really great to hear. 21% somewhat comfortable, and then 5% not very comfortable. Thank you all for being honest. Um, and again, then that's one of the reasons why when we do prepare webinars like this, we want to help you make those connections and hopefully, help you feel a little more at ease with this particular topic, because not everyone is very comfortable, as we can certainly see by this poll. So thank you
Yeah.
all very much for sharing. Okay, we're going to continue on. And I want to share with you this video, and just keeping in mind what your response was to the poll in the previous slide, about how comfortable teachers feel in the classroom when doing science activities with the children. And this video is called "The Challenge of Teaching Science in the Preschool Classroom." And so hopefully it'll encourage a little bit of self-reflection on your own practice. So take some notes, and we are going to talk about it on the other side. All right, everyone. So hopefully you took away a few things from that video. As I mentioned before the video, it's really hopefully will encourage that self-reflection, right, in your own practice in the classroom when it comes to incorporating science concepts with the children. So please share with us in the chat or the questions box how you felt. What are some of the things that stood out to you in that video? And can you relate? Is this something maybe that, if not now, maybe when you first started as a teacher, when you were not feeling that comfortable um, with the the topic of science and introducing those science concepts to the children? Share with us in the chat what you thought. And I will share that, yes, that was me. That was me. I'm not afraid to say it. That was me. Being really, awkward when trying to answer some of the children's questions and not being sure about the answer and just kind of being like put on the spot, right? And thinking, okay, I need to have all the answers that the children are going to be asking because they're persistent and they want all the answers, like the teacher said on the video. So, what stood out? I mean, I can definitely relate to a lot of the comments that the teachers made. Okay, so let's see some of the comments on the video, Gretel.
I like this comment a lot. It says that we learn along with the kids as they try new techniques.
Yes,
Well,
yeah,
yes, that is very true.
excellent point.
As a preschool teacher, you feel you need to have all the answers, so you keep with what you're comfortable with. Yeah, that happens, and I relate to you too, Anna. I remember my first year, I thought I had to do these, high school level science experiments, and really, science is just about figuring out how things work. Why do they do that? And
Yeah,
it's just really just allowing your mind to lead you and explore. And I really liked in the beginning of the video they said it's about science inquiry.
right,
That's why this domain is called scientific inquiry. What that means is we're just going to explore concepts of science. Right now, you're just building the foundations. Um,
exactly,
some more comments here. I think it's great that the teacher didn't know why the stick floated. Being honest with the children helps develop social skills that they need to learn, and it gives the teachers opportunity to learn something new about themselves as well.
exactly. That self-reflection that we need to we need to, make sure that is happening, right? That's part of our learning process and our growth as teachers.
And the
Absolutely.
last comment here is allowing yourself to explore along with the children. It gives the children also that freedom that you are exploring with them. So you're on this journey with them also.
Exactly. And there are no wrong answers, right? The teacher made that statement too. There's really no wrong answers. And it's okay to say, I don't know. Let's figure it out together, right? It's okay. So it kind of takes the pressure off, I thought.
Yes, it does. So thank you for all those comments. Excellent.
Absolutely. Thank you all for that. Okay, so with that in mind, let's think a little bit and reflect on this particular quote. It says, tell me and I forget. Teach me and I remember. Involve me and I learn. So what does this make you think of? Like what comes to your mind when you read this particular quote by Benjamin Franklin? And after watching the video, can you relate to it in a sense? Does it apply to what we're talking about right now when we're talking about hands-on learning? Really not sitting the children down for a lecture, having us talk and having us manipulate the materials, but really involving them. What does that mean? Yeah, hands-on, absolutely. Exactly. Hands-on experience is the best teacher. And don't they love it? Don't they love to get
Mhm.
messy and just you look at the children in this picture. I mean, look at the joy, right? And their faces. They're just, discovering, they're exploring the oozing of the of the element
What did
inside
they
the
call it?
pumpkin.
Pumpkino.
Pumpkino. Yes, the pumpkino. Yeah, it's like getting their hands wet. Absolutely, yes. And it leads to conversation and questions, right? And just prompting that thinking. And so, of
And
course,
engagement.
and
Yep.
engagement, absolutely. And exploring different materials in different ways, right? I mean, who knew we could create a volcano out of a pumpkin, right? So it does, of course, apply to both adults and children because scientific inquiry is a learning process. And so just as the teachers in the video were uncomfortable with science, feeling that they could not answer all of the children's questions, the message here is that we can learn along with the children. So it is okay. It is okay to say, I don't know, I'm not sure, or I never thought about that, So let's find out together. Let's explore together.
Yeah, there's a comment here that it's actually very true, and we've heard it out in the field, is that some teachers may not be as comfortable with science or doing science experiments in their classroom because it can get very messy, and that's true.
Mhm.
The great thing about all of that is that the children also become part of the cleaning process
Yes.
because this is our classroom, this is our learning, this is our home. So we want to go ahead and involve them in the entire process, even in the cleaning after. I think it's a great opportunity to connect that social emotional, and even taking care of our environment comes into play here. So
Absolutely.
thank you so much for that comment there.
Great point. Great point. Yeah, lots of great comments. Thank you all very much for participating in the chat and how this quote made you feel and made you think about. All right,
Yeah.
so let's continue.
So I have another question for everyone. And do you think that science inquiry connects in any way to the rest of the Florida Early Learning and Developmental Standards? Let's see, let me put that poll out for you. So do you think that science inquiry connects in any way to the rest of the developmental standards? And there's 7 other ones. And if you're not able to vote for any reason, just go ahead and write it in the question box. Some people are adding it to the question box. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. All righty.
Those votes are coming in. Very
Yeah,
good. Thank you. Yeah, and a lot of people wrote it in the box as well,
right.
the question box.
All
So
right.
go ahead and launch it because we have a lot of answers in the answers in the question box. I'm gonna go ahead and
Wow,
share.
look at that.
Yes.
Wow.
That means a lot of you have been coming on into our webinars. Thank you.
Yay, that is true.
Yes.
That is true.
Yes, thank you. We're
That,
very happy to
that is
see all of you
wonderful
tonight.
to see. Yes.
Tonight is our first VPK evening webinar, so we're very happy to see the turnout. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, yes. So
So
yeah.
the answer is yes, basically everyone was correct. Math, for example, so how does science connect to math? And we all know that there's a very strong connection between mathematical thinking and science inquiry. So mathematical thinking and scientific inquiry integrate into each other by preparing the children to become problem solvers.
Excuse me,
Also,
Gretel.
make
The slide didn't go to the next one. It's still on the
oh,
poll.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Give me one moment. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Okay, here we go. So it prepares the children to become problem solvers. As they make predictions, you want to go ahead and then test those predictions and start to problem solve on those predictions. They begin to recognize patterns. And just as in math, there's a lot of patterns, there are also a lot of patterns in science. And then also the connections between math and science is that children start to learn to use tools to experiment and make discoveries. So when using simple tools such as pulleys, wedges, and levers, children are learning concepts related to math such as geometry, weight and measurement, And as children perform experiments, they're exploring how much pressure it takes to push a box of toys, how many blocks can be stacked before falling over, and how the angle of a ramp affects the speed of a toy car. And all of these skills are components of the mathematical thinking domain. So my question is, how does science connect to social, emotional, and approaches to learning?
Thanks, Gretel. I thought you'd never ask. So young children learn to maintain relationships with peers and adults. So we're already talking about that connection to that social emotional, right? And as children conduct experiments, they enjoy those interactions and they engage in pro-social behavior. When they're in groups, children work together to problem solve and look for potential solutions. They're also learning cooperation as they engage in opportunities to take the perspective of others and reflect potential solutions. So children also learn to develop a sense of self-awareness and independence as they are encouraged to use their words to communicate their thoughts, their needs, and their wants. So when we're talking about approaches to learning, they're investigating new objects, as we've stated already, and observe their environment to see how everything operates. They're increasing their curiosity and eagerness and inquisitiveness in learning. So we're seeing them be curious and ask questions during those experiences. They're attending to tasks for longer periods of time, being more persistent. Um, they're approaching their daily activities with more creativity and inventiveness, and they are demonstrating planning and learning from those experiences as well. Okay, what about social studies, Gretel? Gretel, can you hear me?
Oh, I'm so sorry, Anna, I was muted. So the social studies domain promotes children to explore their social and physical environments. And as we went through the components earlier, one of the components of science inquiry is the environment. So at first, by recognizing themselves, children begin to recognize themselves, and then they begin to recognize the role that they have in their families. And then they further start to identify the roles that they have in groups or in their classrooms over time. So as they satisfy their curiosity about the scientific domain, they also are able to satisfy their curiosity about different people and cultures, the social interaction aspect of science, the excitement about their environment, especially when, for example, an environment has been changed because we're going to explore a pumpkin. Somebody made a comment that they did an experiment using the pumpkin. So imagine how excited they're going to be about that. Also, when we expose them to nature and caring for animals and comparing those living and non-living things. And then again, exposing them to new tools and technology. So the next question is, how does science connect to language and literacy?
Yes, there is a connection, absolutely. So exploration, of course, and discovery are ways for children to use their senses to explore the world. We've already said that. Science activities provide many opportunities for us to enhance their vocabulary and encourage them to express their ideas. Science content preschool books can be used to encourage discussions and conversations through children's questions and thoughts. And of course, through visual instructions, such as the little step-by-step recipe here to make kinetic sand, we can guide them through those explorations and experiments by scaffolding those learning experiences, right? So of course, language and literacy we know involves listening and understanding, engaging in multiple back and forth interactions with us, having them ask questions and answering factual, predictive, and inferential questions. Understanding those vocabulary words and their meanings, of course, age appropriate, and initiating and participating in those great back and forth conversations, right, based on printed materials.
And lastly, how does science connect to physical development and creative expression? So the scientific inquiry domain integrates with the development in the physical development domain as children increase their fine motor and gross motor skills. This helps them to gain strength and mobility, especially if you're doing anything to do with gross motor, fine motor. It will help the children in that aspect. This allows children the means to explore and engage with their environment and experiments, which result in discoveries about the world around them. Children use their senses to make connections between their own bodies and what they see, hear, smell, touch, and taste. And now Anna's going to explain to us the connection between science and creative expression.
Creative expression is one of my favorites. So yes, definitely. We already said that, children are using their five senses. Logical thinking is part of the creative process. Of course, when they use their imagination to explore the environment. And we know that creativity requires observations, expressions of thoughts, and knowledge. Science and creativity, there's a connection because science requires imagination when looking for solutions to problems. Creativity is a way to come up with new ideas and new ways of looking at the world. Logical thinking is a big part of the creative process as well. Imagination is used in science to come up with solutions and explanations. Um, and again, that the observation, the expression of thought, and just going through those experiences, there is that big connection.
Thank you.
Yep.
So that was actually a tour of the connections between science and the rest of the 7 developmental domains. So if you are doing anything related to science, it's a huge possibility that you are addressing other learning domains as well. Most probably you're doing all of them. You just take a step back and observe, and you'll be able to identify them. So science, as we have said, is one of the most exciting and fun domains in preschool. It is a full process that begins with a question called the hypothesis. A hypothesis is an educated guess. And this is something that children love to do. They love to guess what things are going to, what are the conclusions of things, right? So teachers, you want to encourage the children to think, to wonder, and to guess what could happen as the experiment is done. All the answers from the children are welcomed and encouraged. As we said earlier, there are no real wrong or right answers. We just want them to get comfortable with thinking critically. Then we want the children to be able to test their hypothesis during hands-on experimenting. As they use their 5 senses, they'll be able to learn something new. Then finally, as the experiment ends, we want to bring the children back to reflect on that question. What did they think was going to happen as the experiment was concluded? Was their hypothesis correct? What did they learn? Is this something that they would like to try again? And if the children say yes, give them different ideas. Say, if we want to do this again, how can we change it to make it different the next time? So you want to go ahead and involve the children in the entire process from beginning to end. This will increase their engagement and impact their overall development, just as we saw that science is integrated to all the other learning domains.
Thanks, Gretel. So now we are going to watch a science experiment at a Bright Horizons preschool. So as you watch the video, please take note of, what the teacher's planning process was before beginning the experiment with the children. What strategy does she use to engage them? And lastly, what was the conclusion of the experiment? So we will do a recap after the video. If you want to add on the chat what your thoughts are as we watch, please do so. Okay, so we'll comment together on the other side. All right. Thank you for that. Okay, everyone. So we want to see what your thoughts are on that science experiment we just saw. First off, what happened before the experiment? So what was or her planning process, right? What did what did you see? Okay. How did she prepare for the activity? Okay, first of all, were the materials ready? Um, did she show the materials and explain to them what they were going to do? Um, did she have objectives for this activity? Okay, yeah, she prepared all the materials. Thank you. Yeah. She asked the children to hypothesize before starting. Yeah, she asked them that question. What will happen if we put water and cornstarch together? Right? And she kind of followed along with the chart, right? She was jotting down, she was charting their predictions of what was going to happen. Um, so that was the before part. What else did you see, Gretel?
I did see that she was prepared with her materials. The children had individual materials, so she had enough for all the kids that were going to be present in the classroom.
Right?
Um, Something also that I noticed now seeing the video again is the water table was ready.
Yeah,
It didn't have dirty water from before. It was readily, like she had all her materials ready to go. And you can tell that she knew the purpose of her experiment.
absolutely. She knew what the objectives were, right? She knew what she wanted those children to gain from that activity. And she was definitely prepared. Yeah, she was definitely prepared. She also did not give the answer to the question she asked, right? One participant just shared in the chat. She let them think of their own answer. Very good. Yeah. Excellent. So during the experiment, for sure, since the children had their individual materials, they had their individual space. Um, and she assisted them along as needed, and she kind of went along with the different steps, right? And asking, what color does it make? So those open-ended questions. So we know how she introduced the activity, right? So what else did she do to engage them during the activity? She did make the experiment fun. Yeah, I see some comments coming in. Oh, increased vocabulary. Yes. She increased the vocabulary. Very good point. What else did she do to engage them during the activity? What else did you see, Gretel?
Um, I like the comment that just came in. It was hands-on. So
Mm,
because so hands-on, the children were engaged. Somebody put that they loved the video. She gathered the materials and explained what they needed to do. She encouraged participation from all the children and helped them to express themselves. And all the children were allowed to participate. She did a lot of questions, right?
a lot of questions back and forth to keep them engaged and interested in what they were doing, right? And so then finally, after the experiment, what did they learn from it? You think they learned the objectives? Was she able to complete her task, the teacher? What she had prepared for them? What did they learn from it? What were some of the vocabulary that she was using with them? Definitely yes. Yeah, if the children were not allowed to touch it by themselves, it wouldn't have been so engaging. Exactly. And we said that in the beginning, right, of tonight's session, how children, what is scientific inquiry and what is not scientific inquiry. It's certainly not them sitting there listening and watching us do it, right? It's them doing it themselves. So, do you think they learned from this experiment, Gretel?
Yes, definitely. They definitely learned that combining those two colors gave them green.
Mhm.
So, and the children, you can also tell that they were happy. They were engaged.
Mhm.
Um, there was a lot of social emotional skills happening as well. So I think that she was able to accomplish many of her objectives throughout
Yes,
that.
that was the last question was that. What evidence of those other standards did you see? Okay, so we already said the language, right? Enhancing the vocabulary, the social emotional part we mentioned. What else? What else?
Yeah, I agree with the comment here. I wish that we could have seen when they would go back to their hypothesis. The video does shut off before that, but that
Correct.
is a way to end it. You would then go back to that chart and say, okay, let's see, was our hypothesis correct? Um,
Exactly.
Connect, you would be able to connect those dots, help the children connect those dots in their mind.
Exactly, which is when you were talking about what makes science fun is that reflection and conclusion part, right? So was the hypothesis correct? What did we learn? What do we want to change, right? Do we want to do it again?
Yeah.
So absolutely. So awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you all for participating in that video reflection. Okay, so we're going to continue on. So let's talk a little bit about ways to engage children during the scientific inquiry. So we saw a really good example there when we, just observed that teacher doing that experiment with the children. That would look like a lot of fun. She was having fun, the children were having fun, and they were engaged. So during any activity we do with them, we must use a variety of strategies to engage them and encourage their participation and interactions. So first off, model curiosity. Use those "I wonder what would happen if" comments, or "I'm curious about" statements, right? To encourage them to analyze and think. Also listen carefully to their comments and encourage them to explain their thought process. So why do you think that? What makes you say that, right? Encourage the children to explore and make observations and help them to record those observations through writing, drawings, or even photos. Asking them to make predictions, encourage them to initiate or guide discussions based on science studies and investigations. And of course, always following their leads. Sometimes a simple question can lead to a series of comments and other questions and statements that can really prompt a new investigation. So it's all on our approach, right? It's all on how we feel about it. So as teachers, we really must be on the lookout for those opportunities um, to seize them as they pop up.
Thank you, Anna, for going through ways to engage the children. Very, very important. Now we're going to talk about the environmental considerations. We're going to talk a little bit about your classroom. Maybe you can tell me in the chat, in the question box, what do you already have, or what do you wish you could have? So in the classroom and even in the playground, you can include a variety of tools for the children to use for exploration and discovery. So examples of these tools include magnifiers, thermometers, scales, pulleys, flashlights, and you see the list here before you. Unbreakable mirrors, those are so important, right? And you want to be able to provide children with a variety of books about nature and science, objects that allow exploration of the five senses, and materials that illustrate how living things change over time. If you look at this next image here, this is a science area that is specifically to this particular experiment. So it's the plant investigation science experiment. So it's not the entire area, but it's a part of it, and it helps the children to go back to review their hypothesis, right? Because it's an experiment that is ongoing. And then very important is that we want to make that science area as engaging as possible. So if you go in that area and you begin to wonder and explore and model for them that curiosity, like Anna was explaining earlier, then they're going to follow you and they're going to want to do the same thing, and they're going to want to explore and use those new materials. Because a lot of times children may see these materials and they don't really know how to use them. So when you start to model that curiosity, it really makes that science area so much more enticing to go into. So
All
now
right.
let's talk about the scientific library.
Mhm. Doesn't that look like fun? Don't we love books? I think
Yes.
teachers just, naturally gravitate to books. If I was able to show you my personal library, you would be shocked. Eh, so another big part of the environment, in addition to tools, such as Gretel just explain are interesting books, right, for the children to manipulate and learn from. They can use their imagination, use the visuals to encourage conversations surrounding all topic science, right? As long as they're developmentally and age appropriate, well, they can be used individually by children or in a large group to prep for or to recall an activity. And these are also great for us, right? To help us answer some of those questions that we might not be so sure about as well. So that's excellent. And of course, I am from the old school of teaching, so I have many resource books in all subject areas for early childhood. But these are a few examples of resources that can be easily found. I always encourage teachers to search for information, to use resources available, just like those that teach in a video we saw. Sometimes we get stuck. We can't think of new ways to engage the children in fun and interesting ways. Well, resource books like these or science websites can be extremely helpful in helping us get some new and interesting ideas. And of course, the age of technology we live in, these are some links to some very cool and interesting sites. Of course, the first one is the Office of Early Learning, is the site that we've already shared with you tonight, that has the Florida early learning and developmental standards. And again, it's for providers, it's for teachers, it's for parents, loads of information, great tools that are in there, including lesson plans and activities that we can use in the classroom and that parents can use at home. The South Florida PBS website, the Ready to Learn, has a lot of really cool interactive ways and activities that we can engage the children, and they have them in different age levels, different content areas as well. And the last one, of course, is the Kid Vision site for field trips, activities, and also interactive fun things for the kids to do. So just a few of what we can use. And so as we're coming down to a close tonight, we want to share this video with you to kind of recap everything that we've talked about. I know we've shared a lot of information with all of you tonight, but this is a really cool video from a preschool in Iceland, and it really does recap all the different things that we have reviewed. So just take note and kind of reflect on the ways that they engage the children in their classrooms. All right, thank you, Gretel. So hopefully with that video, you were able to kind of notice all or many at least of the concept, that we've talked about, many ways and strategies that they're engaging the children in the classroom. I'm sure you are doing as well. So using fun things, right? Recyclables. I saw a lot of recyclables. What did you see, Gretel?
Yeah, I saw so many connections to all the other learning domains. The exploration, the freedom in the classroom to just use the space. Um, you can tell that the children have an inquisitive mind um, in their classroom, so that was great. It's a
Excellent.
great video. It recaps everything today.
Yes.
And you'll see it here in the resource. It's one of these links. I believe it's this last link here. If you want to go ahead and take a look at that video again and just document and note down a couple of fun experiments that you could do in your own classroom as well. And then all the other links too to some of the resources that were used in today's webinar. As we come to an end, we want to go ahead and remind you that you will now get your evaluation questions and the post-test questions. So you will see your training certificate in your email within 24 hours of this webinar ending. And again, this is our contact information. We got great comments about the classrooms in your schools today. We want to see them. We want to hear about them. Please let us know if any of this information is being useful to you, if it's impacting your classrooms. We want to be part of that too. So again, many of you have put in your questions and your comments in the question box. Thank you for your participation today. Anna and I have truly, truly appreciated it.
Yes, we've
And
enjoyed having you. Absolutely.
yes, and we just want you to have fun exploring, right? I really, I want to take that comment with me wherever I go now. Wherever, if you are doing experiments with children, you are also exploring alongside with them. So thank you to the person that made that comment.
So true. So true. Thank you all. Thank you all for being here and engaging with us.
Yes, thank you. Thank
Oh,
you,
make sure.
Anna, for another webinar. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you, Gretel. Yeah, just make sure that everyone downloads their handouts
Yes.
before we go. So, excellent. Thank you. Thank you all.
Okay, we do have some comments. People are going to try some of those experiments they saw with
Awesome.
with their kids in their classroom. So that is excellent. Thank you. And send
Yeah.
us pictures. That's why let me put our
Yeah, our
comments.
contact info back. Yeah, so they can see.
There's
Those
our
are,
email if you want to reach out to us.
we want to hear from you.
We
Please share
definitely
with
do.
us.
And I hope you're able to check out our new website. Our new website went live this week and register for the upcoming trainings as well. Excellent trainings coming your way. Thank you. We got some great feedback on the question box. So thank you
Absolutely.
for everyone that participated on a Thursday evening. This is
Yes.
the evening one and it went really good. So
Appreciate
we're
you. We
very
appreciate
grateful.
you so much. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
The post test is going to appear immediately once we're done with this webinar. Once we quit the webinar, you'll see it come up. Somebody asked
Yep.
the question, how do I find a post test?
Absolutely. That's good.
All right, so we end a few minutes over time, but thank you so much for staying with
Yes.
us. And we're really hopeful that you learned
Yes.
alongside us, right? Because Anna and I learned alongside as we were putting this together. So
We
thank
sure did. We sure did. It's okay to say I don't know.
you.
Remember that. All right.
Exactly.
Good night, everyone.
Well, good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.